Welcome to Love Where You Live, Boulder, Colorado. This is a podcast where we have conversations about how great it is to live in Boulder County. And today I am extremely excited. For those of you on YouTube, you're already seeing my guest. And I'm going to give a quick intro to Mr. Mark Plaatjes. I'll say this before I welcome Mark to the show. For those of you that don't know him, I actually like to say he's a father. He's a husband. He's a family. He's a grandfather. He is a community member extraordinaire, does incredible stuff for the community around here in Boulder County. But prior to that, he was born in South Africa. Correct. And he rose to international fame in the marathon. And so he won the world championship in 1993. Incredible runner. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I hope my notes are good.
Yes.
And but with all this incredible background as an elite, top-level performing athlete for the United States and naturalized citizen of the U.S., he then came at some point, we're going to find out when, he came to Boulder and he built this amazing community that I think he's just sort of an epicenter of. That's how I met Mark. But as I said, we're going to hear it from the source. But without further ado, welcome, Mark. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, it's great. It's so I'm gonna start with this because I like to go into the background. But what I'll first do is I'll say kind of a Mark story. My first introduction is I walk into your old store, Boulder Running Company. You had a very small space. This is your old store. It's gone now, but I walk into this space and I'm super intimidated because there's all these great runners and there's this amazing picture on the wall. I'll never forget this, Mark. USA, and you're in there running. You got your arms up, beautiful. And I'm standing there in awe. I'm like, I've moved to the epicenter of endurance sports in Boulder. And I'm at this shop and I'm looking at the shoes and I'm super excited. All these elite athletes work there. This guy's on the wall. And I'm like, I can't even believe like I'm here. I'm living the dream. And then out you come, huge smile. And you just welcome me. Hey, my name's Mark. Welcome to the store. And I'm sort of like, that's the guy on the wall. And that's my first intro to Mark. So, with that being said, I know that's not where it started for you. So let's talk about a little bit about your background, early history, where you grew up. What was it like growing up? What did you do? Just some insight into who you were, Mark.
Of course. So I grew up in just outside of Johannesburg, which is the biggest city in Africa, actually. Small town called Coronationville. And unlike the U.S., I discovered, not unlike the US, but unlike a lot of people, I discovered running purely by accident. In South Africa, when you go to high school, they choose our sports teams by having the entire school body. They divide the entire school body into 3 houses. The 3 houses compete against each other, and then the top 3 of the competition gets to represent the school.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So in my first year in high school, I decided that I was a sprinter.
I like it.
Yep. So I went out for the sprints and I won the inter-house competition, right? Got to represent the school. At one of our first big meets in the 100, made the final. And in the final, by the time I got up and looked up, those guys were like, finish, okay? So being a high school freshman, totally embarrassed. And I was like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for the next 4 years, I chose sports that I knew I would never make the top 3. So I did high jump. I did shot put.
Oh, no.
I did discus, right? Because I just didn't want to place myself in that position again, right? So in my final year of high school as a senior, I already had a job lined up. I was going to be a bank clerk because my family couldn't pay for me to go to school.
Sure.
So I had this job lined up at the bank. We had this track meet that I got embarrassed at as a spectator watching our school compete against these other schools. So we're sitting in the stands and we're cheering on. And one of the teachers came on the public announcing system and goes, the boys 3,000 is about to start. There's only 3 athletes and they're trying to run a qualifying time for state.
Okay.
Is there anybody in the audience that would be willing to help them through half a mile and 1 mile? right? So, of course, it's high school. Nobody volunteers, right? So, I to this day, I can't tell you why, but I looked at my buddy who was sitting with me. I go, let's go help those kids. I said, you can even run the shorter way. You can do 800, I'll do the mile.
Nice.
So I knew I could run because I played other sports. I played soccer, I cycled, I swam.
Gotcha.
I knew I could run. And when we played running games, I was always the last guy to catch. So I knew I could run.
Sure.
Right? Anyway, so the race starts. My friend takes them through, and we had to borrow shorts and shoes.
Of course.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The race starts, and my friend takes them through 800 steps off. I take over, take them through the mile, step off, and I look back, and they're about 20 meters behind me.
Okay.
Right? So I was like, okay, I feel good. I'll jump back in, run, and help them some more. And when they catch me, I'll stop.
Sure.
Well, after a mile, there's only 3.5 laps left.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
So they don't catch me. I end up qualifying for state, but I did my job. They qualified too.
Oh, nice. Oh,
yes.
Nice.
So all of us qualified for state.
Okay.
And so the teacher came and said, would you like to be on our team?
Sure.
And I was like, absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
And I had 4 weeks to train for state, and went to state, won state, and then went to nationals 3 weeks later and won nationals.
How about that?
And that totally changed my life. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you.
No.
I'd be working as a bank clerk.
As a bank clerk.
So because of those races, I got offered a scholarship.
Wow.
And I came to the University of Georgia in the U.S.
Right? The Bulldogs. Mm-hmm. Holy smokes. So just number of track meets. I mean, so you're embarrassed to the point where you don't do track meets the rest of your freshman year, or all of high school?
No,
Zero.
all of high school.
You're out. One track meet.
So every year I would do something that I knew I wouldn't qualify.
Yeah. So track meet once and then done. And then senior year, really one track meet for your high school, and then on to three.
Yeah.
The high school meet, qualifying state, nationals, boom. And then you're off to a scholarship.
There you go.
Remarkable. Yep. Okay. So I have to hear more about this. So then you went to Georgia. Mm-hmm. You're 17, 18 years old, I'm guessing. 16 years old. Mm. Is that right? Mm. So, and then you go to Georgia. Got to be a big deal. You're leaving.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? So the way Georgia came about was my old partner, Johnny.
Yeah.
He ran for Oklahoma State.
Okay.
In the 70s.
Okay.
He actually won NC2As in the 10,000.
Okay.
And ran against Spree and all of that.
Amazing.
He came back to South Africa, and when I started running, he was the best runner in South Africa.
Gotcha.
And so after my high school thing, I actually had started working, and I was at a race. My brother entered me in this race because he's like, you won every single race. Let's go make some money.
Yeah, let's make some cash. Yeah. Manager.
So he enters me in a marathon, right?
At 16.
Enters me in a marathon. So we start running, and I went with the leaders, and the wheels came off at about 20 miles, but I still finished third. I won the first junior prize, but after the race, Johnny comes up to me.
Yeah.
And he goes, how old are you? I said, I'm 16. And he goes, you shouldn't be doing this. He said, you should be running track and cross country.
For sure.
And I go, well, that doesn't pay anything.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, interesting to hear. A month goes by, I see him at a half marathon. And he goes, would you like to go to the U.S. to study? I was like, are you kidding me? When am I leaving?
Yeah, pack my bags tomorrow.
That's right.
Gosh.
And so, that's how Johnny's teammate, John Fox, became the coach at Georgia. He called Johnny and asked Johnny if there were any potential recruits in South Africa that would be willing to come.
That's amazing.
And Johnny recruited myself and this other kid, Sean Nickel, from South Africa, and we went to Georgia.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's amazing. Real quick, what was the time there for the marathon at age 16? Do you remember?
Yeah, 2:24.
The wheels came off, 224, age 16. Okay. And it was, yeah, I knew you'd remember. But okay, so that's remarkable. You're now, all right, let's just kind of jump. You're in college, so then you do focus on 10K, 5K, I'm guessing, cross country. When, I mean, was that overall kind of a success, or did you immediately say, you know what, I'm going to move on?
You know, it was a success, but you've got to remember I had a quarter of a season under my belt.
Yeah.
You know, so I get to the big stage and I did okay. I ran 28:50, but I never even made it to NC2As.
Okay.
You know, I won SEC cross country. I won the 10K and 5K at SEC championships. But I never, you know, got to NC2As, and I wasn't close to achieving my potential. So, you know, I was still doing this, you know, and I just started.
Yeah,
you know,
you're new.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, all right, I'm going to make a little jump. So you're good, not great. But I introed you mentioning a world championship title. So tell us what brought you to Boulder, and was that part of your athletic ascent to greatness, or were you already there? Like, when did you move, you know, sort of where else did you live, or when did you get here to Boulder area?
Yeah. So after, when I was at Georgia, I had to leave a year early. Actually, I was done with all my prereqs because I was doing 21 hours per quarter and stuff like that. But my dad got really ill. I had to go back home.
Okay.
Enrolled in university in South Africa.
Gotcha.
Started running road races.
Okay.
My first race back in South Africa was the South African Marathon Championships.
Gotcha.
And I ran 2:08:58.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And that was so now you're a marathoner. I mean, that's a 208. That's like, let's do this. And how old were you at that point?
At this stage, I'm 24.
24. Okay. Yeah. But you're in South Africa. 208 South Africa. You win the thing. You're on the international scene now. You're known. People are like, hey, that's that guy that ran a really bad 100 back in the, but so how did you get to where we are now?
Right. So because I ran that quick in South Africa, I got sponsors, started doing very well financially. I had my own TV show. I had my own newspaper column. I had, a bunch of sponsors, did really well.
That's awesome.
In South Africa. And of course, at the time, we couldn't compete internationally.
Right.
And so, I always had this little scratching in the back of my head, I wanted to take, so Shirley and I got together at that stage, and we actually had Janae, my youngest daughter, and we decided, so I finished PT school in South Africa.
Okay.
And we decided to come to the US on vacation.
Understood.
Before going back to South Africa and starting a job.
Gotcha.
Right? And of course, I was still competing at this time, and we couldn't compete anywhere else, just in South Africa. And like I said, I was doing just fine financially, so that wasn't the issue. When we came, we wanted to visit Boulder.
Right.
Because, you read in Runner's World about all these amazing athletes that come and train in Boulder, so we wanted to come and visit. So we came and we visited Boulder, and we were like, wow, this is an amazing place. Just coming in on 36, when you look at that Davidson Mason, you look at the mountains and you see the city just nestled there. It was just amazing. And even just visiting, Boulder Roadrunners used to have a Saturday run that people could come to and meet the community. Rich Castro used to put it on.
I love that.
Yeah. And so I walked into, there was a store called Runner's Choice.
Yep.
I walked into Runner's Choice, and they were like, yeah, there's, we have a community run on Saturdays, blah, 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 Boulder Road Runners. So I went and met Rich Castro and met Ingrid Christensen and Rob DiCostella. And I was like, man, this is an amazing place, So we carried on with our vacation, ended up in Chicago before we were about to leave to go back to South Africa. A friend of mine, Tony Longest, had a friend in Chicago that he wanted us to visit. So we went to visit this guy, Glenn Latimer, and we're having dinner. And while we're having dinner, he says, "What do you do?" I said, I just graduated as a physical therapist. So I'm going back to be a physical therapist. He says to me, "Would you like a job?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I'm the head of this nursing home facility for mentally and physically handicapped children.
Okay.
And we've been trying to hire a PT for the last 5 years, and we've been unable to fill the position.
Okay.
So because of that, I can fill this position with anyone, even someone from overseas."
All right.
And at the time, physical therapy was a priority occupation.
Sure.
So they were actively recruiting PTs to come here.
Gotcha.
And we were about to leave to go back
Right.
the next day.
Yeah.
So at the time, apartheid was at its strongest.
Sure.
You know, being a student activist, I had been detained. A bunch of my friends had been detained, and some of my friends still don't know what happened to them
Right.
after they were detained, just gone, disappeared over the face of the earth. So Shirley and I, that night, we're talking, is this an opportunity that we should take?
Yes.
Or do we get on the plane tomorrow? So we decided, let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work,
Jump on the plane.
Yeah, we got lots to go back to.
And
we took the chance and stayed in Chicago, worked at this PT clinic and at this facility, and stayed there for 3 years.
we're late 80s now, right? Or mid?
We in 1986.
86. Perfect.
Yeah. And in that time, the 3 years that I was working in Chicago, I came to Boulder
Right.
to train before a big race.
Gotcha.
So this is just a step aside, but so I just told you we decided to stay.
Yeah.
We had no money.
Right.
We had nothing.
Yeah.
We had our suitcases with us, just myself, Janae, and Shirley.
Yeah.
And 2 suitcases. So that's all we had.
That's fantastic.
And so now we're in this country and we're trying to make a living. And what do I know that I can make money quick is I can run.
Do some running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
So obviously I can't because I'm South African,
Oh, right.
right? And so Glenn Latimer, the guy who offered me the job, happened to be involved with some athletes. He represented Steve Jones.
Gotcha. Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's a crazy world.
so
How
weird.
things kind of...
Yes. I love it.
So Glenn called around, and of course nobody wanted to let me run. And he called the Los Angeles Marathon, and the 2 people who owned LA at the time, Bill Burke and Marie Patrick.
Yeah.
Bill is a African American.
Yeah.
He goes, "I don't give a shit. He can come run my race."
Love
He
that.
was ostracized in his own country. I don't give a damn if the IAAF sanctions me. He can come run.
That is fantastic.
So I had 4 weeks to get ready.
yes.
So I came to Boulder.
Came to Boulder. Yeah.
Came to Boulder, trained for 4 weeks, and then went to LA. In the race, and it happened to be the Olympic trials for Mexico.
Okay. Nice.
So at the time, all the top Mexicans were in
Right.
the race.
Yeah.
And so I think with 3 miles to go, it's myself and 3 Mexicans
Right.
competing. Dropped everybody. And only one Mexican, Martin Mondragon, stayed with me.
Yes.
And I had 4 weeks of training, so I'm literally in the last mile. I'm on my last legs. I have got
You're
nothing.
on fumes. Yeah.
I'm totally on fumes. And he put me on the line.
Jumped
But
across the line. Yeah, but
it's okay.
Yeah. No, it's fantastic.
I won $30,000, and
Yes.
that was the start. And
There you go.
So that was it.
Wow. Okay.
And then after, being there for 3 years and the winters being so brutal, coming from South Africa, I had never even seen snow.
You're right.
We knew we didn't want to be there.
Sure.
So that's when we came to Boulder.
Came to
1987, and 3 years later, 1989.
1989.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's a fantastic story. I love that. And it's fun. We could probably I could spend all day talking about some of these great victories and these battles, because I love them. But we've covered a lot of stuff. So now I want to just imagine it's late 80s, 89. You're here in Boulder. You've got Shirley, your beautiful wife, and your gorgeous daughter, Janae. Still don't have Camille or Luce. They come around, or Luce and Camille, they come a little later.
Yep.
But you've moved here, getting started, Boulder. Where do you land? What is as a resident, what's your first impression? Like, is it everything you saw coming over the Mesa? Is it better? What do you think?
Better, because we didn't immerse ourselves in the culture, just a little bit at that run, right?
Sure.
But once we got here, people were so amazing, and I can tell a ton of stories. But one of the stories that I will tell is that, Steve Bosley, the founder of Boulder, he found out that we had just moved here. He assisted us in getting an apartment. He gave us a car to drive around in.
Amazing.
And just made us feel at home, and the whole community was like that, just welcomed us. Arturo Barrios was living here at the time, Steve Jones, Rob DeCastella. They'd have us, all of them invited us over for dinner, and it just made us part of the community. And, then I realized how special this place is, not just because of, if you look around where we can train and what we have access to, but the people that are here. Boulder is blessed. You can find somebody that can treat just about anything in Boulder, whether you want a crystal cleansing, or you want orthopedic surgery. We have some of the best people in Boulder because it is such a desirable place to live, and people want to be here. People take huge pay cuts to be here, and that includes lots of professionals.
I understand,
doctors included.
Yeah.
And so just being part of that and being able to contribute in a small bit to the culture was what kept us here, and that's why we're still here.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, and I'm just drawing thread, because when I introduce you, like, I do believe that you've been sort of foundational in extending, so maybe not creating, but extending and growing that community. Tell us about how important that is to you, because it embraced you, and you've helped embrace others. It
is so important for me and so important for Boulder. And I'm going to put a little dig in right now, because I feel like we going off the track. If I'm allowed.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is part of the reason we're here.
Okay. So, in the past few years, that we have the Japanese come here and train. We have the Kenyans. We had the Romanians in the past, the Dutch. Everybody used to come here because of this legacy that Arturo and Steve and Rob DeCastella and myself and Rich Castro that we've established in Boulder. But these days, for example, the Japanese team got kicked off the track at Boulder High, and the police were called on them. You can't go run at Fairview because everything is locked. Mark Wetmore has closed the track, which was a beautiful facility where everybody, if you wanted to meet anyone in the running community, you went there on a Tuesday and a Friday. Mm-hmm. Everybody would be there. There'd be 100 people on the track.
I know.
Doing intervals.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yep.
That's where we'd go and meet and do all our stuff. And that is kind of gone by the wayside lately. You can't even use spots anymore.
You can't. I know.
You have to go. There's a window. There's a 2-hour window on a Tuesday and a Friday that you can go use spots. And I feel like we're losing that, even though, and the other part I'll say about that, Michael, is that we've got all these different groups in Boulder now but they are separate. They don't do things together. They don't enhance the legacy. They don't help each other. One of the things that was so awesome for me when I first came here, we'd meet at Rob DeCastella's house, and there'd be 50 of us going on a long run.
Yes.
And then we do it at Steve Jones's house.
Yes.
Then we do it at my house. And it just contributed to the culture, and it enhanced it, like you said, and kept it going. And I feel like we losing that a little bit, and I feel like the community is splintered, and myself and everybody else, I feel like we need to just gather again because we want to keep this amazing place being what it is and what it should be.
100%. So what do we do? What's the idea?
You know, we have to have more community gatherings.
I like it.
You know, all the groups train separately, they never get together. You know,
Yeah.
like with when the Boulder Road Runners had that community run, we need to do that.
We do.
We need to have a community run that has no affiliation to a group or a store or whatever team. Just a community run where we can all one day a week or one day a month, I don't know, where we can just meet, mingle, and see how we can help this amazing community. I'm sorry.
And where do we? And so when if you can think about it, because I think that's brilliant, and leave all the associations behind, and you don't have to pick a side. It's all of us. It's if you run and you live in Boulder County, you meet here. Do we need an indoor, outdoor venue? Just need a park? What do we need? Parking,
Yeah, and why can't we with this community and why can't we have an outdoor track? Why can't we build an outdoor track for this community?
I agree. Yeah.
Why can't we have we have North Boulder Park. Why can't we utilize some of the space that we have to put a wood chip track? I don't know. We have amazing trails to run on, but just a small facility where people can gather. That's the important thing, where people can gather.
Like that.
A meeting place. In Europe and in South Africa, where I come from, they have a club system, and all the clubs have a track. They have a big grass field. They have an indoor facility where people can meet and have a beer and meet and talk and gather. I feel like that's what Boulder lacks. We need a meeting place.
We need that. We need to gather. I love that. And I can feel it. I mean, your energy comes up because it is important to you and you're expressing it very well. We have the problem, and I think this is what we need to do. We need to seek that out. You're spot on. One of the things that I'll tie in is, with In Motion, it's your physical therapy clinic. It's a running store, and every Wednesday you have a fun run. You're doing a very good part to establish that. It's very successful. Talk to us about. Obviously, you've been a PT for a long time. Runner, store. Talk to us about the importance of us gathering there at your shop, for example.
Yeah, I tried. That's what I tried to do, and we did successfully at Boulder Running Company.
100%.
I'm trying to establish that at In Motion. It's a little bit harder. Like I said, all the groups. I'm not as dialed into the groups as I used to be when I was competing. So maybe that's on me. I need to reach out to all the groups and just invite them to maybe we just have a happy hour at the store. And fun. It doesn't matter, even other stores can come. It doesn't matter to me. It's not about selling the store. It's about building community. And I would gladly make my space available for us to do that.
That's great. And it is a spectacular venue. You can stand in the front and then stare at those beautiful mountains. I mean, you have a great view there, Walnut and 30th. I think count us in, because I think Amanda and I talk about this all the time, and it's just what you said. It's not about business. It's about community. We love this place. Let's help share this place. Let's help invite people to that community, to the gathering. So let's follow up on that, Mark, because I really like that. And then we have to talk to the people on the city of Boulder, because
we do.
Why don't we have a track? I mean, why don't we have that? So we'll come back to that. As I just come in here, let's do some fun stuff as well. Currently, which part of Boulder County you guys live in now?
We lived in Boulder for 14 years.
In town, yep.
Yep. But what I explained to you when I first came to Boulder, coming in on Davidson Mesa, that view is what has been close to my heart forever.
Yes.
You don't see that in Boulder.
You're in it. You are the view.
Yes. So we finally found a house. We've moved a little bit east in Lafayette.
Yeah.
And I have my view.
I love that. And so we talk about this because this is why it's Boulder County. This is the age old. Do you want to see the views or do you want to be in them?
Yes.
And so tell us about the Lafayette community a little bit, like your favorite things about right where you live. View is number one. What else?
View is number one. Number two, a lot of people don't know, but we have phenomenal trails and access to phenomenal trails.
Yes.
In Lafayette.
Coal Creek Trail?
We have Coal Creek. We have the extension of Coal Creek that goes all the way to I-25.
Remarkable.
Yes.
Most people don't know that.
Then, what a lot of people don't know, just about every single neighborhood in Lafayette has a little dirt path that goes around it.
That's so cool.
And if you take the time, which I do because I love doing it, you can connect all of those and you can make a huge loop. I have a 5-mile loop, I have a 10-mile loop, I have a 20-mile loop, and it's all on dirt. You have to cross a few roads,
yes,
but it's all on dirt, and it connects all these communities in Lafayette.
All right. No,
and it connects with the bike paths as well that go leading to Louisville, that leading to Erie, and that leading to Boulder.
So it's such a great, and I didn't know enough about Lafayette, 10 years ago. Over the last several, I've got to know it. I'm with you. It's special. You've got an old town. You've got, new, you've got it all. So what's your favorite? If you're going to bring me out, where are we going for a beer, a coffee, and a meal? Which it doesn't have to be the same place. Like where would we have? Where would that be?
Absolutely. So right on 95th and Arapahoe, we have the same coffee shop that's in
Brewing Market.
Brewing Market. Thank you. Brewing Market. And it's a phenomenal space, Michael. It's kind of the space that I envision it in motion. It's got beer, it's got wine, and it's got a huge coffee shop, and it's got all these sofas with one little TV and great meeting space.
That's awesome.
That is where I take people when I want to show them Lafayette. It's always packed. It's kind of like January coffee is next to us. It's become an amazing, busy little Boulder, treasure.
I didn't realize they had booze out there. That's cool. They got the wine and beer. So that's very good. Great tip. 95th and Arapahoe. Write that down,
95th and Arapahoe. And then I don't know if you know it, but they have up on the hill in Lafayette, they have this cider, a restaurant that specializes in cider. And they have, I'd say, second to my view of the back range. And they've got an amazing restaurant.
The Range, what's it called? It's called
I think it is called the Range. Yes.
Is that it?
I think it is.
Okay. I went there once. Some friends took us out there, and I was like, what on earth have I mean, it's amazing.
And it's in the industrial park.
Indoor, outdoor seating, the great food and the cider. So we'll have to, is it the Range? We'll come back to that.
I think it is the Range, and it's on the...
it's called
Acreage.
The Acreage Range. Thank you for all the help with my crew here. Thanks, Marcus.
Thank you.
The Acreage. Great suggestion. Okay, so we've covered. I mean, that's it. Unless there's another highlight you got to call out for Lafayette, because I mean, people. It's you're talking about if you're here and you're in your rhythm and you want something new. He's giving you great suggestions. So Acreage and Brewing Market. All right, let's do a couple other things because I think we've hit almost everything out of my list. But ultimately, what about if you, and this is so hard, especially you're gonna struggle with this, maybe not. If you had to pick one trail, one for a hike, a run, a walk, any of the above, what's your favorite? If you called out just maybe the best trail around or a little open space.
For me, that's not a difficult one.
Okay, good.
Marshall Mesa is absolutely my favorite, and I'll tell you why. Because you can go in every direction, do different loops. You can go flat, you can go hilly. Yeah. And one of my favorite trails, and I don't want to say it out loud because it's kind of a hidden treasure. But if you go west, so you go up the hill you go across 93.
Okay.
Go down Community Ditch.
Yes.
When you get to the bottom and you start going up Dowdy Draw.
Yes, I'm with you.
Right before you go down the hill to go up Dowdy Draw and the switchbacks, there's an extension.
Okay.
On your right that goes into the foothills.
Into the trails.
Yes, into the trails. Oh my God. Have you done it?
Yes.
So if you do the top loop and you climb and you come up to this spot that's really near to where the railroad runs.
Yeah, the little canal, and then there's the railroad behind.
You go up.
Even above that. Okay.
Even above that.
Haven't probably been there.
Yeah, so once you get to that canal, you go across the canal, and then you go up another mile and a half.
Oh, come on.
And you come to this pinnacle. And when you get to this pinnacle and you look north, you see a view of the Flatirons you don't see.
You've never seen. You're on the other side. You're due south.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, you look directly at the Flatirons, and as you look down, there's this open field for about 3/4 of a mile single track, wildflowers. You could be in the middle of Switzerland.
This was an easy one, and you see why. So here, and just I hate to spoil your secret because they still have to do it, but we're orientation. So this is kind of like El Dorado Canyon, sort of, you're above El Dorado Canyon where all the climbers are, where the pool is and whatnot. So if you were coming off of 93 and you wanted to kind of shortcut it, you drive down and park at one of those sides, Mesa Trail or Dowdy Draw, and you have to find your way to the secret part. I love that. And I'm doing anybody want to come with me? I'm going this weekend. I've just decided.
Absolutely.
Or is it still snowy?
Might be too snowy.
Still snowy. We'll give it a couple weeks. So mid-April, I'm going to get out there.
And when you do it, let me know. I'll love to run around there with you.
Great. I would. That's it. That's a couple of requirements, and this is something I just invented. Is that we have to connect outside on something, either one of these restaurants. All my guests, I'm going to call you up. You and I were going to go for a run down there. And then the other part of that is I wrote down 2 names. If you were going to just throw someone out here and say, you have to have X, Y, and Z person on this podcast, who would first come to mind?
Oh, well, 2 names and not in any particular order. You have to have Arturo out.
Yeah.
And you have to have Jonesy.
Okay. Yeah,
I lean a little bit towards Arturo only because he's so animated and he's not really part of the running community now.
Right.
So I think it's important to bring him back into the fold.
Love that.
Steve is involved in the running community. He coaches.
Yeah,
he has a group that he coaches very successfully. And those are the 2 guys that are still here. And a lot of the younger people don't know anything about them.
It'd be fun to, and just in a weird, we're selling real estate now, Mark, and I popped into a house and we're getting ready to sell the house, and guess who the property manager is? Arturo Barrios. And then just like 2 weeks before that, I'm showing a house. Guess who owns it? Arturo Barrios. I'm like, this guy. So he's my guy. I'm going to call him up. And then Steve, I wrote his name down. So great stuff. Okay, couple.
Just two people that you also need to add to your list because they live here and nobody even knows it. Helen Obiri and Edna Kiplagat.
Oh, nice.
Boston, New York champion. Yeah. Both of them world champion. Both of them world champions. Both of them New York champions. Both of them Boston champions.
So good.
They live in Boulder.
So good. And this is where you're like, people always laugh when we're talking about Boulder, and it's like, you don't ever know who's about to pass you, who's on the other side of the trail, who's world class at this, who's won that world major marathon Olympic gold medalist. And so it's really, it can be intimidating. I mean, like I said, when I first met, that picture of you winning LA, I think was what I saw up there. But it's also, I do think that there are so many of us that are really welcoming and wanting to embrace. So those are great tips. Awesome. I mean, I could literally talk for another half hour, but in interest of time, yours and everyone's, do this. If you were just going to describe, so I mentioned, Shirley and your beautiful daughters they work with you, got this great, great family and beyond. It could be that, it could be running, it could be anything. What would you describe as your ideal, in Boulder County ideally, ideal Saturday or Sunday? Just kind of how do you spin it or whatever day off you have? Just like how do you craft a great day here for Mark in Boulder County?
My goodness.
Yeah. You got your choice.
First I'd wake up, have my coffee, read my newspaper, go for a run on Marshall Mesa.
Yep.
Come back, get Shirley and the girls.
Yeah.
Go to breakfast.
Where would that be?
At the Buff.
Nice.
Yep.
Okay.
Go to breakfast at the Buff. After breakfast, we'd maybe go walk down Boulder Creek path just to get rid of some of the calories that we just consumed. And then I would take Shirley and the girls up to Chautauqua and go for a hike on part of the Mesa Trail.
Beautiful.
Come back down to Boulder and go have a beer.
Yeah.
And we have so many great spots to have a beer. Upslope, Twisted Pine Brewery.
Yes.
Now Boulder Social.
Oh, right, totally.
In the past, it used to be Avery's.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Avery's is still in Boulder County.
It is. Gun Barrel.
And then come to Pole Street Mall and have dinner.
Beautiful.
That would be my day.
You got to do it. So now that you've said it, you got to make it happen.
I've done that many times.
I'm sure that's happened. Yeah. Yes. And such an awesome day. I'm actually stealing that too, because everything you described sounds ideal. So that's great stuff. Well, I mean, from my standpoint, I have to say thank you. I'll ask also for the folks that want to know more about you, where can they follow you, either online or anything, email, sign up? What do you think? How can people get more Mark Plaatjes?
At the store, they can go on our website, and I have a link to just myself.
Yeah.
I'd gladly share more.
Yeah.
And one thing I did leave out, and I'd be amiss if I didn't say, I am number 9 of 10 children.
Oh my gosh.
So just thought I'd throw that in. Yes. And they were all very instrumental in helping me initially getting shoes and equipment and driving me everywhere and getting my career going.
Signing you up for the race. Your brother signed you up for that.
Right,
it comes back to when I look at you, Mark, I really describe you as a family man and then a community man then the incredible accolades running and a business owner here in town. So it's really a pleasure. I didn't know any of that. Most of that I did not know. But folks, check out Mark Plaatjes. Check out In Motion Running. It is a great spot. If you ever, unfortunately, get injured or hurt, this man will take care of it. I promise you.
Thanks for all the referrals, Michael.
Oh, I'm always saying, I mean, now it's like, I'm not a coach, but I run people, I'm showing properties and they're on my back. And I'm like, I got you. And the people I run with, but still I always think of you. And so we're sending folks. But it's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Marcus.
And wonderful. So, folks, this has been another amazing Love Where You Live. And I'll say this before the next episode, I encourage you and everyone to go out and do something that you love.
Absolutely, will do. Thank you, Michael.